I'm Commander Shepard, and VGS is my favorite show on the Citadel.
This is Three Dog.
How can I help?
It's been a very interesting week for the world of video games. I'm Andy Burkowski, and this is VGS, Video Game Sophistry, your program where we take you through the ins and outs of the video game universe, the art, the business side, and of course, the games themselves. We've got a full house this week, a whole mess of interns. We're going to get to them in a second. But if you haven't heard, Mass Effect Andromeda came out this week on Tuesday. We've had content on it for, I think, almost a week and a half. That was a good one. And in that time, we've kind of discovered something a little bit harrowing, that this game that was supposed to represent so much for the industry, so much for moving this business forward, really took it a few steps back. It's very upsetting for someone like me that has devoted a lot of his career talking about this great big program. So today, we're going to take some time to address some of the issues. If you're watching this online and you found this show from some of our Mass Effect content, we welcome you. Keep watching because there's going to be more of it. This week on VGS, we're going to talk about the faces that made Mass Effect what it is. We're going to talk about the mission structure that led it down this wrong path. And before that, we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about influencers. It's a word I despise, but it's something that is becoming more of a piece of our vocabulary. For a long time, there were people that reported the news and what the news was about. In most layman terms, an influencer seems just to be someone that does both of those. He or she is popular for being a representative for that brand or that style of comedy. And since a lot of those people are really amateurish and made their careers outside of the corporate structure, they don't realize that you have to hide the crazy, stupid things about your personality or people are going to get upset. We're talking about a man named JonTron. He's become the other side of the coin of video game influencers. And he's done some things that have made people kind of throw him off the shelf. This week on VGS, round of applause, everyone. Come on. Woo! That was a woo. VGS. That was a woo. Normally, when we start the show every week, we take a moment and talk to you about the games that are coming out in the next 7 days. Tom Jones comes in. It's quite an affair. But since there aren't really a lot of games coming out, and we got a lot of new people listening, I thought we should pack in every seat we have in the studio here with the faces that make this show and a little bit of Meet the Interns. So here we have today, if you're watching to my right, Anton Mack. We have Jesse 2, it's just what he's going to be named. Travis, forgot your last name. And of course, Richard, and manning the camera today is Jesse. We might get him on camera once. Maybe not. And they've been helping me out in developing the content here and kind of learning the radio biz. It was a little difficult when we first started to find a lot of people that are in radio that also are cogently understanding of video games. There's a lot of people that'll play them a bit and love it a bit, but those that actually maybe are more on the level that I want to bring of looking at this critically and caring about it a little bit more than a person should. We found a bunch of furry white dudes. The first one, Anton Mack. What's up, man?
I'm not white.
So what do you do here?
I am
for me directly.
Oh, I do a lot of things for you, unfortunately.
All right.
But what am I, the show producer at this point?
We'll say that. Yeah. You help with production. You help a lot of the online stuff, right?
A lot online stuff. I still kind of help book interviews, stuff like that. I'm basically like the guy that has his hand in everything at this point. So you've been working me to the bone at this point.
Well, it's our Mass Effect. If you're here because of Mass Effect, it's been me and you going through it.
Yeah, and if you haven't seen any of it, feel free to hop on to youtube.com/videogamesophistry to find out more.
It's a mess. It's a mess of a game, and we thought it'd be good, and we worked really hard on it. So now it's a little bit difficult. Anyways, what kind of games you like? Like, is that something you game every day, right?
Most days, but I guess my favorite game of all time is Pokemon. So I'm a big RPG fan. And
you're a big Japanese fan.
No, not as much as one of the other interns, but
yeah, he's not here,
unfortunately. But I also play a lot of first-person shooters, so Overwatch.
And he's also very good at video games.
Yeah.
Which I am not. So that's always nice to have someone that's like, oh yeah, I'm good at this.
You're pretty good at video games.
This guy. All right, Richard.
Hey.
The bane of my existence. Richard Jellison is
Hello.
here. He's often wears floral patterns and
Bow ties.
a little bow tie, and you've heard him before. And he's Richard. What do you do here, Richard?
I am a content creator. I make things for online. I do
Just
social
right away.
media. I am the powerhouse of the online sect.
What? What was that?
The powerhouse of the online sect.
If you have like a resume, don't put that on.
No, I
Because
definitely
I will
won't.
not verify that.
No, it's
but in
okay.
all honesty, Richard does do a lot of work. He's you're interested in a lot of the social media stuff.
I
so
do.
You've been,
I do the social media. I do video production, audio production.
what kind of gamer are you?
I like fighting games so much.
Yeah.
And besides that, I mean, I guess first-person shooters, RPGs, action RPGs. I'm really interested in Nier.
In Nier, yeah, that looks pretty cool. Automata, whatever it is.
Yeah. Any Platinum game, I'm totally hype over, but I really like fighting games.
And you said hype.
I'm sorry.
And before we started this program, I took them all aside and said, do not say words like hype. What was the other one? Just
Cringy.
Cringy?
and cringy.
And
That was
the new
very
one that you
cringy,
told
Richard.
me.
Oh, hyphy.
Not even going
Bad.
to
Let's
address
move on.
that one.
Let's move on. To
Travis,
Hello, sir.
who are you?
I'm Travis Hyatt. This is my last name. Well, lately I've been doing a lot of news of the week for you.
You've actually,
that.
it's been really cool to, because I have a news background, and it's been really cool to try and translate that into video game news and kind of share that with you guys. And I got to say, this is the first nice thing I'm going to say. You've really come a long way in that. So well done, my friend.
I feel like I have, and it means a lot to hear you say that.
Oh, my goodness.
My heart.
All right, well, don't say anything else because I don't want to ruin it, but that was really sweet. Thank you, Travis. And the newest face, but not the newest name. We have Jesse 2. Jesse 1 is on the camera right here beside me, but Jesse 2 is probably the youngest person on the program.
Yep.
So why are you here?
I'm here because I love video games. And you know what? After the 3 weeks I spent on the show, it's really fun, actually. I have a lot of fun here.
Like he's surprised. That's phenomenal. What kind of games you play?
Everything and anything, which is a lame answer, but it's the true answer.
That is the best answer. So round of applause for Jesse 2. He's
Thanks for asking what my games were, by the way.
All right. So those are the interns that we have here. Of course, you can keep watching for more and keep listening because coming up are patented News of the Week segments where we discuss the latest and greatest and a little examination of what exactly went wrong in Mass Effect Andromeda. We'll be back after this. Yeah, we're going to talk a lot about Mass Effect because I know Anton and we've spent a lot of time with the game in the last 2 weeks. Maybe too much.
Way too much time.
It is kind of cool how it has divided the community, though, in some pretty interesting ways. It's neat to see that because we've produced reviews and all these other things for it online. And initially, the review was responded with, like, how dare you hate this game? You know, how dare you put any sort of negativity towards the game? Turns out, after a little while, people start to see, well, you know, this isn't the gospel. There are some problems here. And, let's talk about them right now with Travis and Rich and their News of the Week.
This week in gaming.
I've got to do the news!
Even before release, Mass Effect Andromeda's facial animations have been criticized for the deadness in the character's eyes and looking non-human. Former Bioware animator John Cooper stated they look this way because RPGs require a larger scale of detail and that comparing animations to something like Uncharted isn't fair. Other animators have also stated that in some cases, it's not even the animator's fault for the models, as sometimes they don't even see the cutscenes they're animating the characters for.
Well, all right. But you still hurt my feelings.
Playtonic Arts, developer of the upcoming 3D platformer Yooka-Laylee, has cut JonTron, the YouTube personality, from the game entirely. John was supposed to voice an NPC in the game, but since his racial scandal on Twitter, Playtonic decided to cut the cord entirely.
I can't believe you did this to me! How could you do this to me?
Although John has since clarified his reasonings, Playtonic is standing by their decision. Never get into politics, folks.
No game launch is ever met without flaws. Case in point, Nintendo Switch owners have experienced communication issues with the left Joy-Con controllers, specifically that it disconnects in the middle of gameplay. Nintendo has since then shown a way to fix the issue, and that's by adding a piece of conductive foam inside the controller itself to lessen wireless interference. Now you too can fix your left Joy-Con in just a matter of minutes.
How much have you paid for microtransactions? $40? $50? Well, what about $700? In order to get all of the player items in For Honor, you either need to grind the whole game for 2.5 years, or take the kind of easier way out and pay $700 for over 90,000 packs of in-game steel. Why, Ubisoft?
What you've done is wrong.
For casual players, this might seem insane. For dedicated players, For Honor could potentially be the most expensive game they own, next to Train Simulator.
Big thanks again to Travis and broke that. Travis and Rich. I slapped my keyboard and mouse when I was very excited for their success. Very, very excited. This week destroyed my flow entirely. I had this whole place where I was going to go. We're talking about important stuff here. There's a man named JonTron that you heard about in the last few minutes. He is someone that people seem to like. You know,
I really appreciated the content.
Why though? He chirps around with his bird and goes, meow, meow.
Well, I don't know. Like, I watched him for the last couple of years back when he was actually making content and being funny, but
he did that kind of stuff, right? He
did a couple things, yeah.
Okay. I really feel like an old man just yelling at people to get off my lawn when I talk like that, though. It's like, damn, old man Burkowski's at it again. All right. So this is a guy that did not make his identity have anything to do with anything serious. We got Rich, who's a bit of a fan, gonna give us a little information on that. But yeah, he didn't. That wasn't how he became popular.
No, he founded a company, Normal Boots, which made YouTube content, got a bunch of people on there, and then did
comedy content, right?
Comedy content, okay. Specifically he did games like Nightshade, The Claws of Shrek, and Space Ace, and a bunch of ports for NES games or some other things, reviews and top 10 videos. But then eventually. For those
that don't know, very kind of like the PewDiePie vein, if you will.
In a way.
The American PewDiePie version?
Yes. So it all kind of started where the Republican Iowa Representative Steve King said something like, oh, we can't restore a civilization with somebody else's babies. And then JonTron responded to that on Twitter. Wow, how scandalous. Steve King doesn't want his country invaded by people who have contempt for his culture and people. Nazi. And was a very sarcastic thing. And then people took that as bad, and then he followed that up saying this whole stupid system relies on rational people being shamed into shutting up. Glad to see that's slowly falling apart. So it gets worse and worse on his end.
So he's commenting on the political system in the United States.
It's that, and then he went on this Twitch stream debate with Stephen Bonnell. I think that's his name. He streams his Destiny, and he had this debate that was 2 hours long. And John says stuff like, "America doesn't need immigrants in compatible
not stuff.
Places."
This is a quote, right?
This is a
not
quote.
Stuff. We got to make sure.
This is a quote. And he basically said,
not basically. What did he say exactly?
He alluded to, the immigration from foreign countries into the United States is basically just the Tibetan genocides.
Ooh. So did he allude to that, or did he say that?
He said that in more words.
Okay. All right. And there's not a synopsis of this. You're not alluding to what he's saying.
I can't find a big, huge script.
But I think
I've made notes on it.
If you disagree and think Richard Jellison is a huge liar, please send us a message at VGS_640. All right. So what happened after that? Because this is not in the same vein of what happened with PewDiePie. PewDiePie said one comment and then lost a bunch of lucrative business deals. A very bad comment.
Well, he did kind of lose a business deal, as you heard.
But he didn't go and do a official debate.
No.
PewDiePie just said this happened and apologized and still is the most popular person on YouTube. So what happened after that for JonTron?
JonTron lost 10,000 subscribers, me being one of them. And then he put out his own apology video, which he then took down. but people saved it and pulled some quotes from it.
The simple point I was trying to make is that it's hypocritical for those who see everything in terms of race to suddenly turn around and object when white people speak up in what they believe are the best interests of their race.
So, plainly said, he's saying that the statement that you can't be racist against white people is not true.
Yeah,
he's defending the white man, 26-year-old bearded gamer.
The alt-right.
Well, thank God that there's someone there that can represent me, because the privileges that I've had in my life, man, just not enough. Thank God that there is this guy that has made millions of dollars, I would say.
Something like that.
Talking about video games in a funny voice and decides that he now needs to discuss politics and that he is there for us. Well, thank him. We got to take a bit of a break. When we come back, we're going to really dive into this. So we gave you the nitty-gritty of what it's all about. Do you think that people who became popular for doing comedy and being funny and being different have a right to then share the deep darkness inside of them, the weird things that they believe in? Is this part of the entire package, or, should he shut his mouth? We'll be back after this.
Now, back to VGS with Andy Barkowski on Talk Radio, AM 640.
In the world of video games, there are individuals who have changed the trajectory of what this business and art form is. Usually they're men, usually they're white, and usually they say crazy things with a camera in front of them. We have the PewDiePies, we have the Jacksepticeyes, we have that other guy that was
Markiplier.
That one, yeah, that pretty looking guy. And we have people like JonTron. You've heard about JonTron probably in the mainstream media recently because he thought it would be a good idea to interject his own opinion on the current political climate south of the border and align himself more with a conservative, some would even say far-right approach to immigration, to ethno-demographics, and to how, I guess, a country's makeup should be. As a result, you've heard here on the program, he has had a big hit to his personality. It's hurt his business in a lot of big ways. So, I'm joined, of course, by Anton Mack, Richie Gels, that's his name now, and Jesse 2. We named that because there is another Jesse. I'm not just being derogatory. These statements, I think, have some level of objective fallacy. There's something just objectively wrong about them and subjectively amoral. They're not the right things that are said, and it's kind of evil that he's saying them. Do we agree with that, or is there someone here in this group of four that actually think that white people have the raw deal here in North America and that you can't have too much of another culture or race because it's going to ruin your system? And if you do say that, mind you, I will yell and throw things, but I'm still open. Anyone?
If I may, I moved from the States to Canada to escape some of this stuff. So
you're a white dude.
I know, but at least in Canada, nope. I don't want to go there. Continue. Somebody else take this.
So no, I'm earnestly asking. Jesse, Anton,
I agree with you totally. It just, a lot of what he said did not resonate with anything, and obviously with me being Filipino, it didn't sit well at all.
Yeah, it was a little uncomfortable.
I stay out of that kind of stuff, honestly. No, I really do. It really, at the end of the day, I don't care about that kind of stuff, really. I just like
What do you mean?
Yeah.
Let's see if he puts his foot in his mouth on this one. The new guy. Let's see what he does.
Honestly, I think that I know my opinion is irrelevant to a lot of people, right? Mm-hmm. So I kind of wonder where JonTron gets off sitting on all of his YouTube money and just, being a white bearded guy that likes to be the funny guy on YouTube and make YouTube videos. And he thinks that anything he says has any bearing, really. Who is he to say that on top of his millions of dollars of YouTube money to say, oh, hey, I'm a privileged white dude that plays video games on YouTube for a living. Here's what I think. When realistically, it's no one.
No one cares.
Yeah, exactly.
he has a platform to say things like that because he's such an influencer.
But is it okay for him to say things like that, right?
It's the way he put it was wrong.
Hold on a second. So Anton, if someone like, I'm so disconnected with popular culture, but if someone like a Kim Kardashian or one of their Kardashians comes out really, really strongly for strict immigration laws and is speaking about things that maybe that is not how they gained their tens of millions of followers or the cachet of people that they now have a platform to speak to. As someone, if you're a fan of JonTron, we're going to get to one of the fans we have here on my right, do you think that it's appropriate for him to share this other side when that is not really what he has presented himself as?
Totally. You've built yourself up as this brand, and in turn have gained a massive following who somewhat cares about what you actually say. My thing is, I don't agree with anything he says, so don't take it or don't twist my words or anything of the sort. But once again, like he has a following that he's allowed to speak to, and if you don't agree with his opinions, you can tell him to tell him to screw off, or you can listen to him if you do agree. Once again, don't agree, but he's allowed to do it.
Yeah, but the idea of free speech only gets you so far. You should take care of what you say, or else people are going to have action against you. In America, the right for free speech only says you can say those things, but people can totally still kick your butt if they don't agree.
I've never once said that he doesn't deserve
the question is whether or not we think as a public entity and a public figure, especially a video game one, that he should be talking about this. Of course he has a right, everyone has a right to do this, but someone that surprisingly believes truth is a good thing, I don't think that he should have made this choice to even privately discuss these sort of things, because it will hurt the art I think he's trying to create. You have a certain responsibility right now to your fans. If you have millions of fans, you have a responsibility to do something that's true to you. And if this is true to him, then that is a very, he just gave me the middle finger. It is a very offensive and I just think very cynical and solipsistic way of looking in the world. That because they like me and I have millions of followers, they should like anything that I do and say. This is just me. It's the freedom to do that. Richard, I know you were a fan beforehand. Do you agree with me on that? That he just shouldn't, he shouldn't have shared this? Or is it even better now because that wait, he had these subversive thoughts?
In the last year, or the 1 year that he was part of Game Grumps, it kind of grew. Like, we see this now. He made offhand racial comments and we said, oh yeah, that's funny, that's a joke, that's a thing. But then eventually you look at it now and it's like, oh, he was really kind of letting this thing out on a daily basis in front of millions of fans back then. And it's just gotten to that point where he says, yeah, okay, I can say this in public and it's not even a problem anymore. So he was letting us know way back when.
I do think, just to kind of come to a conclusion here, it's interesting that the people in our community, the video game community, that will say, first and foremost, keep politics out of video games, keep transgender characters out of video games, will defend to the death the right for an influencer to say something that's more right-wing. And I think it's because people like that are so attuned to their own ideology that they'll allow someone to be truthful and honest and speak to their truth if it's what they believe, but they won't allow it if it's different from how they see the world. So ultimately, JonTron, we hope he disappears off the map, because it's not good for us. It's not good for gaming that this guy is so popular, that he is so and possibly racist, and that he won't just apologize and keep making funny videos like this. I don't want this. Let's put this on the right track. Speaking of the right track, next up, why Mass Effect Andromeda sucks. For the better part of a year, myself and the VGS team have been excited for developing content with and hopeful for a new game from Bioware, probably our collectively favorite video game developers, Mass Effect Andromeda. It was a game series that all three of us really, really loved. And Andromeda came out, unfortunately, it was very heartbreaking. It didn't provide a lot of the things it promised. It fell off the wagon on a lot of other common staples of the game series in terms of story writing, in terms of character development, just didn't do that. But the most shocking thing had to be the visual fidelity.
Sorry, my face is tired from dealing with everything. And right now, I just want to know what happened with
Mass Effect Andromeda.
So that is our question today. What happens with Mass Effect Andromeda? Andy Burkowski, Anton Mack, and Jesse 2 here. Almost immediately, that's of course a reference to a character Addison in this game that has some of the worst facial animations that a AAA titled game has. Not a game from 2007, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
That works, but it didn't come together, it didn't look great, and it became kind of the lightning rod, the fulcrum for people that were upset about what this game does. Some people got upset in ways that maybe they shouldn't have. They sent threatening remarks to someone that had identified as an animator at BioWare, which is just, it makes everyone here look bad when you do want to have honest criticism about something, when someone that also might agree with your position takes it to the point where they threaten a human being. So we would never advocate for that. But since that time, there's a great article in PC Gamer and other publications that have really analyzed who is to blame for this animation problem. Why did it happen, kind of? We don't have an official response from BioWare, but Jesse, PC Gamer, reached out and was able to talk to, or at least comment on, someone that has a little bit of insider knowledge, right?
Yeah, Jonathan Cooper, who posted a pretty massive 15-tweet thread on Twitter. He was a former BioWare animator and is currently an animator at Naughty Dog. And he had a lot to say on the whole thing. And his standpoint on people kind of going out there and witch hunting individual animators that they feel were almost responsible for this is, to quote him, "Just as we credit a team and not an individual for a game's success, we should never single out one person for a team's failures." And I think that's really important because, like, when people go on these witch hunts, it makes us look really bad, right? As gamers, it makes us look terrible. It puts us in this awful light.
So what else did he have to say about why this happened?
He also had to say, again, quoting his Twitter, that the lowest quality scenes in the game might not even be touched by the hands of an animator. And that to cover this, an algorithm is used to generate baseline quality scenes. And as such, it's designers, not animators, who sequence pre-created animations together like DJs with samples and tracks.
Very interesting. So just to continue with that, we'll hear more from what Cooper had to say there. There's another great talk, roundtable talk from a bunch of animators from First Strike Games. Tim Boreal said something very similar, that instead of BioWare instead of creating custom animations per line of dialogue and acting choice of VO talents, they're likely creating phoneme shapes, the A, E, I, O, U, so the emotional shapes of a face, of the upper and lower face sections, the body language animations at various intensity levels, and then that is given to a designer to script. So it's not what we would traditionally think of how you make video game development. You know, you think of someone animating like, I made this face and it's going to work in this way. Instead, it seems like the tools used, because making games is such an arduous and complicated process, that they have an algorithm and a system of tools that can just be glossed over a variety of situations. Is there anything else that Cooper had to say that kind of speaks to this?
Yeah, actually. He said that a lot of people have been drawing comparisons since he used to work for BioWare and now he works for Naughty Dog. People were like, well, Uncharted 4, that had incredible animations, right? Why couldn't Mass Effect Andromeda live up to those? And he says, again, quoting his Twitter, that conversely, RPGs offer a magnitude more volume of content and, importantly, player story choices. It's simply a quantity versus quality trade-off. So, like you said, there's so much in the game that they have to be doing, right? So to create those simple AEIOUs and just to weave them into the game, if players want all that content, they're going to have to make some obvious trade-offs because they don't have the time to be doing that. And to touch on that too, he also says that in Mass Effect 1, we had over 8 hours of facial performance, and in Horizon Zero Dawn, it got up to around 15. And player expectations are only growing.
Yeah, mocap. And Anton, you and I were deep into that game. That seems about right.
Yeah, like
a 15 hours of scenes of faces. And that game even had some facial issues in terms of lip sync being off. But it's night and day, isn't it, between that and Andromeda?
Between the two, I would much rather be playing Horizon Zero Dawn for the story and facial animations versus Mass Effect Andromeda, which was kind of sad because the expectation is that, you know, we should have something great. It's kind of sad because you mentioned this at the start of the segment that in 2007 this will be fine, but back in 2007 when the first game came out, that game looks so much better.
Yeah, well, they used mocap for these interpersonal scenes. You were either talking to Turians or different aliens where you didn't have to mocap the face. This one, and from what we played, you speak to hundreds, if not 1,000 different people in this game.
Yeah.
That's too many. And just to finish up, we're going to take a quick break pretty soon. But another great thing this team of animators said that we don't consider is that, one, likely you hate the animations. Probably an animator had nothing to do with it. It was a designer and a scripter that said, we are going to make some pretty complicated things. You're going to plaster it over different characters. There's also the aspect of character creation and customization. People forget that you're able to create your own riders in this that help affect your sister and your dad in the game. You also create the different boundaries of the weapons that you can have in your hands and how that affects the body animation. So when there's so many different variables that are in the player's hands, it's very difficult to expect that there would be that level of visual fidelity. What do you think, Anton? We'll start with you. What do you think Bioware could have done?
Get rid of Frostbite.
Okay, so the Frostbite engine.
Yeah, I despise it. But it's not just totally unfounded. There have been a lot of games that have come out within the past year or two that have been running Frostbite and have been having issues. Like, Jesse, what game was it? It was Battlefield 1, right?
Battlefield 1 and the Zeppelin glitch. When the Zeppelin crashed, all of a sudden somebody flew into it. And this happened constantly. It would spin around like a disco ball.
Yeah, so if they totally just kind of got rid of the engine and maybe possibly dealt with mocaps, then we probably would have had a better looking game. But that doesn't solve all the problems, right?
No, I think, and that's where this comes to me, I don't want to say expertise, but the thing I care about, what I'm passionate about, is the idea that the storytelling didn't have a central thesis. You didn't really understand the motivation of what these characters were doing, why they were part of the team, why they were participating in the Andromeda initiative. And you can have characters that don't look very good, that are kind of goofy and silly. But if the words coming out of their mouths ring true, then you're still committed. Some of my favorite games have just a little icon on the screen and you're reading text. And still those words impact me more than anything I've seen so far in Mass Effect Andromeda. This is a message kind of to the people making this game, to the team of Bioware, that you know can make incredible products.
Oh, yeah.
That really have. A lot of people had problems with Dragon Age Inquisition. I loved it. I thought they found some truth there and had all the special sauce come together to make one piece that had something to say. Mass Effect Andromeda could have been a lot shorter. It could have been a lot narrowed. And it could have taken some chances with the different characters you had, the different stories they wanted to explore, and the different ways that they could interact with this universe. It's a real shame that BioWare rolled down the middle, and it's a shame for us because I think they thought they were making something that would appeal to everyone, off-brand Guardians of the Galaxy, if you will. But instead of finding some truth in even what Guardians of the Galaxy did, they made something that was a little banal, a little pedantic, and not of the utmost quality. We've spoken to the BioWare writers. Like, these guys know what they're doing. We've spoken to the BioWare producers. They are some of the best in this industry. This game should not be this bad.
Yeah, it's a rough deal, honestly.
Yeah.
It makes me quite sad because as a guy who's played all three Mass Effects 3 times over, I've fallen in love with a game that's a genre that I'm not used to.
Yeah.
And going into this experience when you gave me the chance, you know, I was excited. And then 3-4 days later, we're having conversations about how much we're not enjoying it.
It just slowly dawned on us, so to speak. We'll give you the final word, Jesse, before we go to our bonus round with the rest of the interns. We've talked about the game a lot. You've seen a lot of our online content. Go to Video Game Sophistry on YouTube to see it. How do you feel about how this game eventually came? Because you haven't played it yet, and you might not. Well, will you be jumping into it?
I'll still play it because no matter what, it's still the game that could have been something, and it wasn't. And that makes me really sad, but I still want to see what they did with it.
Okay, well, I think that is some words to live by. A big thank you from the VGS team for sticking around. It's a sad day, guys. Mass Effect didn't turn... Again, it is a game. People are going to be listening to us think, oh, these losers. But it's not what it should have been.
I will say, if you want the game, or if you were excited for the game, try it anyways.
Okay.
Make your own opinion on it.
I would say don't, and listen to me. Big thank you, as always, to Anton Mack. All that stuff online, Video Game Sophistry. You can see the hours, the literal hundreds of hours we are putting into this, so you can look at a game and not go through all the crappy bits. Jesse, too, killing it with some facts today. Lovely to have you on the show. Don't interrupt me. And Richie Gels, thank you, my friend. A lot of production today, and you look just dashing.
Thank you. I also don't like that you call me that.
Richie Gels?
Don't like it.
All right, so Richie Gels is here. Andy Burkowski, Anton Mack. We're going to be back next week. This is Video Game Sophistry.
Without a doubt, the worst episode ever. Rest assured that I was on the internet within minutes, registering my disgust throughout the world.